Hi everyone, I'm David Reeder, and we are Off Deck. On yesterday's show, we discussed the most interesting storylines for the women at the FINA World Championships. Today we're going to cover the men, and John Lone is back with us to do that. John, thanks so much for joining us again. How are you?
Doing well, David. Looking forward to another chat here.
Yeah, so last year at the Olympics, some guy stole the show again. His name was Michael Phelps. You might have heard of him. Where is this one going to go? Because there's no this is the established superstar who's going to win all these different events and be the center of attention on all the relays. Who's the Michael Phelps of this year, if there is one?
Um, yeah, there won't be anybody who will have the multi-event impact, but I mean, it's hard to not look at Adam Peaty and say, especially if he goes 56 in the 100 breaststroke, that everybody just stand up, tip of the cap, and sit back down because that's there. That's doable. I mean, for him to have been 57-13, I believe, on the way to the gold in Rio, and to win that one by a second and a half over the reigning Olympic champion, which was Cameron Vanderberg. The only place where in a lot of ways, Peaty is doing what Katie Ledecky is doing. He's just racing the clock. And so for him, the next logical thing is something that says 56. And whether that's 99, that's fine. But yeah, you're shaking your head, and that's exactly the reaction. It's really difficult to wrap your head around.
Yeah, that'd be ridiculous. If I saw someone go 56, I mean, when he first went 57.9, this was over 2 years ago. He did it at British Nationals. I was like, wow, that's amazing. There's, maybe he's not going to go much faster. And now he's 57.1, and I don't know.
Well, how about, I mean, the possibility of seeing a 26.2 or a 26.3. I mean, I think his world record's 26.42 in the 50 breast. I mean, what if he takes even a tenth or a 2/10 off of that? God, it's unbelievable, the gap and the chasm that he's developed between himself and everybody else.
And it's nice kind of that we get to see him twice in the 50 breast and the 100 breast this time, and not just the one event. And obviously both medley relays. I guess we can get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But so a little bit more for Adam Peaty to do in Budapest than in Rio, when he basically took 6 days or at least 4 days off in the middle there. So that'll be nice that we've got more of that from him. So before we get to those relays, let's talk about the men's backstroke events, because these are more interesting than you might have expected 11 months ago. Ryan Murphy's still there. He won both in Rio. He looked like an Aaron Pearsall type coming out party. And now we're not sure. He didn't look great at nationals. He hasn't even broken 53 yet in the 100 back this year. Last year he did that a month before trials. His 200s looked a little bit better. Still not spectacular, but perfectly solid. Is he still the one to beat in those two events?
I think so, because I think he's now established himself to a point where he knows what matters, and what matters is Worlds and Olympics. And if he's not throwing down times in the 52 range routinely during the year, big deal. Let everybody doubt him, and then when it matters, he can step up and show people where he's at. So I don't think there is any concern with Ryan. He came off of NCAAs and 4 days now of an exhausting meet mentally and physically, and probably took a little time. But he's the guy. He earned that distinction when he won both golds in Rio, and then followed it up leading off the 400 medley relay in a world record. He until somebody takes it from him, yeah, he is the man to beat.
I guess it's just that seeing Zhu Jiayu go 1/100th slower than that in April, that's still what's kind of got me a little bit of a, I don't know. And I really don't know. And I think if Jenny Rylov is going to be a big challenger in the 200 back, you can't count out Mitch Larkin, who won both events 2 years ago. But it's really the one that gives me pause, is seeing Zhu Jiayu go 51.8 and not knowing, you don't know if he can repeat that, but you don't know how fast Murphy can go. I don't think anyone will break 52 at Worlds. I'm going to say that now, but I don't know. I just don't know.
But we've seen this stuff with the Chinese before, where domestically or just at a much lower profile, smaller time meet, where they'll throw down something that's very impressive, and then it doesn't get replicated.
Yeah.
And look, this guy's an Olympic medalist, so there's nothing to take away from him. But the fact of the matter is, Murphy beat him, and he needs to unseat the champion, in my opinion, until we start saying, okay, this is your guy.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. And aside about the 100 back, it's going to be very good to have Matt Grievers back in that field. I don't think there were many people upset to see him make the team at World Champ Trials. A lot of happy faces, Matt's included.
Yeah, and that's a cool. It's just a cool storyline. Beyond the pool, you have to appreciate what Matt Grievers is going to bring to this Team USA, just as a leader and as a veteran, as a guy who has been around the block from World Championships to Olympics to having seen a little bit of everything. That's a great influence to have, and I'm sure the coaching staff is thrilled to have guys like him and Nathan Adrian continue to be on these teams. That can be a calming influence or just a lead by example type. And I know there's a couple cliches in there, but that's the truth, and that's important to have.
Yeah.
And so, and then I would love to see him get on the podium. You know, you're not supposed to root in this business, but that 100 backstroke in Omaha last year, you knew somebody big time, a medal contender, was going to get dealt out of the picture, and it happened to be the reigning Olympic champion.
Yeah.
And he was devastated. And now to bust it, to get back there, it's not going to be easy. You have a Mitch Larkin lurking there still, so there's some people that are going to be fighting for those three medal spots, and obviously the two we spoke about. But to see Matt Grievers get on the podium would be very impressive and a terrific story.
It would be. Interesting you mentioned the whole people that might not be at their best anymore, but still are key parts of Team USA. Like, I think the coaching staff is happy that Elizabeth Beisel's going to be there for the same reason, leadership.
I agree.
Even if the circumstances surrounding her making the team were not what she would have wanted, not what anyone would have wanted. But again, I think that's good for this year's Team USA, and by extension, the next 3 years, that she's there, that Matt's there, even if, we don't know what their futures hold. Let's move on to another stroke, butterfly, where someone has said he wants to break a Michael Phelps world record. As we both know, that doesn't happen very often. In fact, there are only 2 people who've ever broken a Michael Phelps world record. Well, 3. Ian Crocker, Paul Biederman, and Ryan Lochte. Joseph Schooling wants to do it in the 100 fly, 49.82 from Rome in the bodysuits, and there's some people confident that he can do it. What say you?
It's before he threw down 50 point last week at the sectional meet, I would have said, man, 49.8 is something else, especially after the time he took off, and well-deserved time off after Rio. But he is such a talent, and I've long said that in person. One of the favorite swims I've ever seen was when Ian Crocker went 50.40 in 2005 in the 100 fly in Montreal. As Ian came into the wall, I'm sitting there. It was an outdoor pool, and I'm thinking, God, he's going to be awfully close to 50 point here, and that swim was so far ahead of its time. And then for Schooling to go that 50.39 last year in Rio, and to finally take that textile standard. The kid's a sheer talent, and I guess if someone's going to go and flirt 49 in textile, it's going to be him. But it still is a chunk of time. That's a half a second.
Yeah.
And that's a lot for a year. But maybe at some point, hey, but if he does it, I'm not going to be surprised just because of his skill set.
Yeah.
The other one is, what's he going to do in the 100 freestyle?
Or the 200 fly.
Or 200 fly, yeah.
Or both. And the schedule works for him to do both this time.
48.7? 48.7 was terrific.
Yeah.
So we'll see where we go here.
You're right. He's definitely a threat. He'll swim the 50 fly. I think he can swim both the 100 free and the 200 fly, and I think his plan is to do both. And as for the 100 fly, I spoke with Eddie Reese at Nationals, his coach at Texas, and I'm not going to say exactly what Eddie said, but Eddie was very confident, and he said Schooling's in much better shape than he was last year. Or excuse me, not last year, a few months ago at NCAA's, when obviously he lost the 100 fly to Caleb Dressel and had such a poor 200 fly. So will be interesting, but he's a confident guy, and I think that makes a big difference.
He has every reason and has every reason to be confident.
Yeah. Speaking of Caleb Dressel, him going 50.8 in the 100 fly was one of the most surprising swims at Nationals. I spoke with Greg Troy, and Troy was like, well, the 100 fly might be his best event eventually. And that's just something, interesting to think about. I don't think he's a threat here, if not only because the 50 free comes right before the 100 fly, but it's interesting to see Dressel in all these different events with a shot at medals kind of across the board.
Yeah, we've been talking about Caleb for years as being a future sprint star for the United States, a guy that they're going to be able to rely on. And now he could be a leg on the 800 free relay. You're going to see him in multiple events. But I'm going to just shift back to the 100 fly as an overall. That's probably the event I'm looking forward to the most, because Leclos is going to be there, obviously. I just cannot wrap my head around Laszlo Che not swimming phenomenally in Budapest, in front of the home crowd in what could be a swan song for him. Look, he's only a couple years removed from a world title.
Yep.
He swam a silver medal sharing time last year in the 100 fly. So in Rio. I'm anxious to see that race shake out, and then Dressel adds that extra element to it, which is nice.
Those 4 guys, I think that's going to be that's going to be one of the most fun races to watch, for sure. So since you mentioned your big race to watch, I'll mention mine. It's the men's 100 free, an event that loses the Olympic gold medalist Kyle Chalmers out with a heart condition. No one's been faster than 47.9 this year. You have Cam McAvoy, who went so fast at Australian trials last year. He's been pretty good this year, but not 47.0 good. Ben Proud's been really good for Duncan Scott. Wow, I'm getting all the British guys confused based on their event. Duncan Scott's been really good, 47.9. And then the 2 guys from U.S. Nationals, Nathan Adrian and Caleb Dressel. Now, I ran this by you right after Nationals, and it was just a feeling that I couldn't shake. I think Caleb Dressel's going to win the world title in 100 free.
It's an open event that I can't sit here a few thousand miles away and look at you and say that's crazy, because it's not. He has that ability. Yeah. He has that talent. He's going to surface ahead of everybody. And why not? Why shouldn't he be considered a leading contender?
Yeah.
Especially in a year, as you noted, where there's such a bunched up group.
I just think there's more to give from that 47.9. For some reason, that swim felt like a step behind, a small step behind the other ones. And I just think that there's a 47.7 in there. And could the others have a swim maybe faster? Do the others have a swim like that in them? Could be. Dressel, aside from Dressel, Adrian, McAvoy. But yeah, I don't know. Just a feeling. We'll see. Let's talk about the men's relays. For a change, the 400 free relay looks like the strongest relay for the U.S. Hard to see anyone topping that kind of depth. But Great Britain is a threat in the other ones. Like I said, I was just kind of listing off British swimmers a minute ago. But they could be a threat in the medley and the 800 free, I think. Yeah,
the one that – let's go medley first.
Okay.
Because we spoke about Peaty earlier. And let's say Kevin Cordes or Cody Miller swims the equivalent of, they go a career best split 58.3, 58.4 range, which would be tremendous.
Good. Yeah.
They're still going to lose a second and a half.
If they're lucky.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Peaty was 56.5 in Rio.
That nullifies anything the United States has done on the front with the backstroke, because Murphy or Grievers is going to take Chris Walker-Hebron and probably comfortably roll to the wall ahead of him. The thing that's really, and until Dressel went to 50.8, James Guy has continually improved as a butterflyer and gives them that shot to set up Duncan Scott on the end, maybe Ben Proud if he's hitting, because they'll be able to make a decision there.
Interesting.
Ben Proud is not just a one-hit wonder in that 50 free, 50 fly. So he has an ability to be, I would expect Duncan Scott to be the guy, but you never know. But all of a sudden, James Guy gives them that reliable fly leg. So, yeah, very, very interesting. But Peaty changes the whole dynamic.
In Rio, he was 56.5, and Cody Miller was 59 flat. If it's a 2.5 seconds again, then there's no way. Without Phelps and Adrian having a clear advantage over Duncan Scott, it's just not going to happen. And, we don't know how much the advantage will be after backstroke. But I think I think if the U.S. wants to have a shot at winning gold, they have to be within about 7/10 of a second after Peaty's leg. Maybe a second.
Uh, yeah, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
Adrian's probably going to be 46.8, 46.9,
Yeah.
somewhere in
And,
there.
and
But
you assume that even if
maybe
Dressel beats Adrian in the 100 free, Dressel would swim the fly,
or
Adrian free.
Dressel, yeah.
Yeah. But you'd assume Dressel on the fly, Adrian on the free, I think.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Um, a lot of little pieces to put together here, and a lot to unfold, which is
Yeah.
makes this fun. I'm so glad it's less than a week away.
Yeah. And the 800 free. The event the U.S. was stunned in 2 years ago. And again, Duncan Scott, James Guy leading the way. A good.
Nick Granger.
Yeah, Granger. Yep, he's been very good. The U.S. relay has Townley Haas. You expect more from Connor Dwyer, but the other guys in there haven't been in that situation before, which is what makes it a little bit scary.
Yeah, and this is where you wonder, okay, do they go with a Dressel here for a spot? Do they give Jack Conger a shot here at one of these training camps to show, hey, he has that 145 that he threw down in Omaha and then in the prelims in Rio, because they're going to need every bit of this. So, and there would be nothing wrong with giving him, let him time trial it. And if you have a guy who's going to put a 145 out there, hell, you better get him on that relay. But it's very different to not see a Lochte or a Phelps, one of them, or if not both, on that relay, and it does change things. I think Townley Haas is going to. This is going. I would not be surprised if he wins this thing. I did not pick him to win it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he won a 200 freestyle. He has that. He has that future. So.
There's more in the tank than 145.0 when someone's pushing him. I think there's quite a bit more in the tank based on that swim. Lochte's been on the 800 free relay for 13 straight years, and he won't be this year, so that's a long time. Finals every year. It's going to be interesting. As for Dressel, a point, like we mentioned, the 50 free 100 fly on the same day. That's also the same day as the 50 free 100 fly prelims and semis. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if he's not on the 800 free relay at all, and maybe they give the spot to Conger or to Jay Litherland, who was 7th at trials. Just a thought, because that'd be a lot for him, and he hasn't pulled out of any individual events. So we'll see.
I will say this. When you look at that coaching staff, it is probably as good of a coaching staff as I can remember in a long, long time. I mean, this country is filled with, the United States is just filled with top coaches. But when you're rolling out the group that they're rolling out there, I think they're going to make the right calls.
So it's the men's staff is Durden, Eddie Reese, Greg Troy, and Jack Bowerly. Yeah.
I mean, the only thing you're missing is Bowman.
Yeah. And David Marsh not there on the women's side. Yeah.
I mean, but that just goes to show, I mean, the craziness of the coaching talent. It's just fun.
It was very funny at Nationals. Durden was like, in 2015, we had a really bad head coach who made all the wrong decisions for all of the relays. He'll do much better this time. So, you think after the way things went a couple years ago, Durden will be more careful. He'll trust some people. And Frank Bush obviously still there. So, you're right. Tough decisions to make, but I think you got to assume they'll make the right ones. Real quick before we let you go, the men's IMs.
Yeah.
It's a little different this year. Obviously, no Phelps and Lochte in the 200. And in the 400, those predictions haven't come out yet, so I won't spoil anything yet, but I will say we all three, you, me, and Andy Ross, all picked the same person, and it's an American who has never won a major international gold, but we all think this is going to be the time.
And I think Ryan Lochte's textile record that he swam in 2012 on the way to gold in London is very much in jeopardy.
Okay. Okay. It's 4:05 low.
That's where I think this guy is.
Chase Kalish, you think his freestyle leg is a lot faster at nationals if he has someone there, and he didn't. Jay Litherland killed him on the freestyle leg. The image of him chasing Kazuki Agino in Rio and just looking like he was not going to give up. If someone's ahead of him, he's not going to give up, and that's the kind of swimmer Kalish is. And
I think you're going to see Chase on the podium in the 200 medley too, because he's elevated his status. And I'm sure he would have loved to have been on have a 200 fly opportunity there too. But maybe the fact of just missing out to his Georgia teammate Pace Clark in the 200 fly could could play into his favor. Having the 200 medley and a couple days off, and then the last day of the 400 medley, he won't be nearly broken down. That 400 medley, we keep talking about Kalish and the two Japanese, Daiya Saito, the two-time defending world champ, and obviously Hagino. I'm really curious to see what David Verasto from Hungary does in Budapest, because this is a guy who went 407 here in the lead up to this, and it's like, did he pop that too early? Is there more there?
What happened in Rio? Because he didn't make the final. He was the world silver medalist, didn't make the final in Rio.
That's one that I don't know what to make of where he's going to be there. Could it be a 4-man battle? Anytime a guy goes 407, you got to give him credit that he'll be there. But
and what can Jay
early to
Litherland
do that?
do?
But
Litherland being 409 at trials could be there as well. You don't see a lot of 409 mids not being in the mix, so we'll see.
It's going to be an awesome race. What a nice, it's a long wait, 8 days to get there, but that'll be a fun last day.
Yep, should be good. John, thanks for doing this again. It's always great to break this down with you, and we'll see how our predictions look. We'll see who looks better when all's said and done.
Sounds good, David. Safe travels to Budapest.
Yep, thanks, John. That's John Lone again joining us on Off Deck to discuss what we're going to see at the World Championships next week in Budapest. It's going to be fun. Hope everyone enjoys watching it, and we'll be keeping you posted on what's going on the entire meet. Thanks, guys.